The Battle of Ramree Island, a British victory in the Second World War. As a part of the 15th Indian Corps attack in the Burma campaign, the Japanese and British forces engaged in a battle known as the Battle of Ramree Island. Also known as Operation Matador, it lasted from January 14 to February 22, 1945. In order to increase their attacks against the Japanese troops at the time, the British forces wanted to build an airbase on Ramree Island. However, the Japanese forces decided to fight to the death to keep the island. This led to a conflict that lasted 6 weeks. Rakhine State is the current name for Ramree Island in the Bay of Bengal. It was a region isolated from the shore of the Arakan mainland by a strait that was only about 150 meters wide. During the invasion of Burma in early 1942, the Imperial Japanese Army took control of the island. The 14th Army arrived on Ramree and the nearby island of Chiduba in January 1945, prepared to set up airfields that would serve as the campaign supply hub. On January 21, the Royal Marine Detachment took up residence on Chiduba Island while the 26th Indian Division attacked Ramree. In contrast, the Japanese garrison in Ramree was made up of the 2nd Battalion, 121st Infantry Regiment, under the command of Colonel Kanichi Nagasawa, with artillery and engineer detachments tasked with constructing and defending the airfields. Around 1,000 Japanese men were separated from the rest when the British Royal Marines and the 36th Indian Infantry Brigade were able to outflank the Japanese position and divide the garrison into 2 parts. The British invited the smaller Japanese group to surrender because they were besieged and cut off from the main body in a message that was given to them. But for the Japanese, giving up was not an option. Instead, in an effort to reunite with the rest of their forces, they made an 8-mile excursion across a dangerous mangrove swamp. They came across a foe there who was even more powerful than the British Royal Marines and the Indian soldiers. Saltwater crocodiles were lurking in that enormous swamp, waiting for them. The saltwater crocodile is the biggest reptile in the world, growing to lengths of more than 23 feet and weighing more than 2,200 pounds. Given its size, it can easily consume any animal that comes too close to the marshes, which are its native habitat. Humans are subject to the same rules. Humans are no match for aquatic animals in terms of size, speed, and agility due to their ability to exist in completely saline water. The crocodile, which is smaller than its ancient forebears yet essentially identical to them, may be the best adapted animal on Earth, say paleontologists. One of their habitats was the mangrove swamp on Ramree Island, which the Japanese forces were well aware of and prepared to risk their lives to avoid being captured by the British forces. However, when they entered the slimy swamp, it seemed like more animals intended to feast on them than just the crocodiles. They traveled with spiders, mosquitoes, deadly snakes, scorpions, and other insects. Add to it the additional illnesses, thirst, and famine these soldiers experienced. The nocturnal saltwater crocodiles started to appear as they got farther into the strait and started attacking them. According to naturalist and Ramree Island battle participant Bruce Stanley Wright. Bruce Stanley Wright that night, of the February 19, 1945, was the most horrible that any member of the M.L. motor launch crews ever experienced. The scattered rifle shots in the pitch-black swamp punctured by the screams of wounded men crushed in the jaws of huge reptiles, and the blurred whirring sound of spinning crocodiles made a cacophony of hell that has rarely been duplicated on Earth. At dawn the vultures arrived to clean up what the crocodiles had left. Of about 1,000 Japanese soldiers that entered the swamps of Ramree, only about 20 were found alive. If Wright was right, the crocodile attacks on Ramree Island would have been the worst animal attacks ever documented. Although it seems to distinguish between the 900 Japanese who were abandoned in the swamp and the 20 Japanese survivors of one raid, the British Burma Star Association seems to support the accounts of the swamp attacks. Lieutenant General Jack Jacob, Indian Army, detailed his fighting experiences in his memoir, An Odyssey in War and Peace. Lieutenant General Jack Jacob, over 1,000 soldiers of the Japanese garrison retreated into the crocodile-infested mangrove swamps. We went in with boats and interpreters using loud hailers asking them to come out. Not a single one did. Saltwater crocodiles, some of them well over 20 feet in length, frequented these waters. It is not difficult to imagine what happened to the Japanese who took refuge in the mangroves.